Well, hey everybody, it's Steve at 1000 Year Home. So today I'm going to work on that abutment. So right there you can see an abutment that I made of sandbags, earth bags, and it's wrapped in galvanized mesh. 2 days ago I did a test where I took a high strength mortar that said it would cure underwater, and I stacked the bags underwater. So right up there along that edge is what I'm working on today. So right there along that edge I went ahead and stacked mortar, high strength mortar that said it would cure underwater right on the package under that water, so I'd have an edge in which to build a shell. So I'm going to make that earth bag look like it's a red rock cliff. Around here red rock cliffs are native, and so I want it to look like a native abutment for that bridge. So that's what I'm going to work on today. I've got my truck set up, I've got my concrete mixer set up. I'm going to get my tractor and bring over a pallet of stucco and concrete. I'm going to see how much I have to get done, and I'm going to use everything that I have and see how far I go. I know I'm going to run out of material, but I'm going to give it a college try there. And then I could restage and figure it out from there. That way, if I get a couple of inches of rain, hopefully I'll be higher than that, and I can keep building. All right, I've got my cement mixer all set up. I threw a bucket of water in there. I'll turn it on in a minute. I've got my F-150 hybrid, which gives me my power, off-grid power. Over here I got my little tractor holding what's left of a little bit of concrete that I have. I'm going to get through all of that so that I have, next batch I buy will be all fresh, but let's see how far that will take me today. To that I'm going to be adding this iron oxide, and that's to colorant, a dye, in order to make it look red. Dark reddish ochre, somewhere in that ballpark. That's about what the stone looks like here. Then once I have a bucket of mud, I'm going to go ahead and pour it out on that cliff edge, stack stones on it, fill the stones back in with lava stones, pumice, make it look all good, and go all the way around that base today. That's my goal. So per bag of concrete I add about yay much colorant. Sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. Doesn't really matter. While that runs, I'm going to go ahead and put my waders on, get a bucket, set up a platform. I might have added just the right amount of water, but I'll scooch in a little more water if it needs it. I'm going to dump that out into the bucket. Real quick, carry it down in this into the pond here. I'm going to dump it onto the thing, and then onto the little cliff there, and stack stones on it, and then backfill it. I don't know how far it'll take me. We'll all find that out together. The bags that I stacked up there, they're about 2 days old now and curing. And so what I've done, that little pan right there I just brought is just a splash pan, and that's the mud. They're the same thing in that pan or the bucket. So all I'm doing is dropping the cement, stucco, concrete mix on top of the mortar bags. I'm figuring that it'll last a little longer, adding extra Portland cement underwater, as well as a little concrete there. So it's not pure stucco I'm using there. Once I stack the stones, then I sprinkle the earth into the spots, just trying to make it look good. I threw a little water on there so it keeps curing, you know, and I splash water on it a little at a time. What I don't want to do is big waves that would wash away the mortar, because it's green, it's fresh. So the white bucket there has sand and stones in it, so I continue to go around. Underneath the bridge is a little difficult. I continue to go around. These waders are okay. They're not like the old butanol ones, I'll tell you that much. They did allow, with a full day's work, they allowed moisture just to seep in. My socks were wet by the end of the day. Here I am making the next batch of mortar slash cement slash Portland. You know, I'm just trying to make something that I think will last underwater when it goes underwater. So I'm adding a little more Type S cement. I add fiberglass, chopped fiberglass in there, and then of course the dye that I showed you earlier. Mix it all up, and then just pour it on top of the bags that I had submerged underwater. So this pour, you'll see I missed a little bit there. So I use both the pan and the bucket. You'll see I carry them both off. It just makes it easier for me. This camera angle is going around the bridge on the other side, but right there, notice that the beach is underwater. And so I spend a minute, I go get some of that Portland cement, and I go get some other products. I fill in that beach a little bit as I work my way there. So there's the shelf, and I get to where it starts being underwater. And so I'm going to go with pure concrete here, as well as Portland cement, powderized, and then I add multiple layers over the top of it as I go. So there's some powderized material. I'm just trying to get it above the water. And then I add the stones. I add a little of the sand. I add a little more concrete. I think it ends up looking pretty good. The stones are no rhyme, no reason. I'm just putting them where I built the ledge with the Earthbag. You'll see I made a couple of tiers of ledges. Okay, some of that was underwater, as you saw. So I'm going to go around, work on the other side with stucco. Try not to make a lot of lapping, right? Because it'll wash away the cream, which is the Portland cement, the stuff that chemically makes it happen. So it'll cure underwater. And I think that looks like a little beachfront. So I'm real pleased with how that looks. What I don't want to do is get in there and fall and make a big wave and wash it all away. I want to try to let those stones set. So then I'll go back over the top with stucco, and I'll kind of tie in everything. Go around that next bend, which will also have some stones in it. And there's some weird metal that I'll have to take care of. So letting this cure for a little bit's great. So I'm going to switch over to here to this side. I'm going to make up the last 3 bags of stucco. And I'm going to work over here, and I'm going to try to stucco to the top, just all the way up as far in as I can reach, and not disturb all of that. So that's the game plan. We'll see how close I can execute. I thought I had the camera running when I did all that, but I can't tell in the sun. It's right in the lens. So anyway, there we go. I went ahead and staged some stones, mudded it all in, covered it with the native sand that I dig out, and I'm going to mix up the next batch. I have 3 bags, and I'm going to see if they'll let me get all the way around the edge or not. I feel pretty good about this. So here I am. I zoomed into the actual cliff while I'm doing this. It's a little bit of a different process. So I'm using bare hands. You might not want to. I did get cut a little bit on the grids, but I folded under any overlapping grid that might have been a problem, and I turned it into a cliff seam. I am pressing pretty hard. You really can't notice this, but I'm forcing the stucco into the grid, and I'm also kind of going up and overlapping any curve so that it holds together in the one place. So it's a little more physical than it looks in the fast motion, but it's not impossible. So, and then once I press it all in, then I sprinkle the earth on it, and sometimes I press it in, sometimes I don't. It all depends on how I'm feeling at the moment, if I think it needs it. But it has been staying the sand in there pretty well. I make it all the way underneath the bridge on this particular pour. You see 3/4 to an inch thickness on there. I believe that will hold underwater. Again, if it falls apart in the next year or so, I'll come back. I'll make it 2 inches thick. Change the camera angle to the other side so you could see that I'm now around the bridge. I went under, so I mixed up new mortar off screen, and here I am coming back in, and I'm going to fill this corner. So first I stucco down the rocks that I already put in. Make sure they don't go anywhere, and then I go to the next ledge that I built. I deliberately stacked the earth bags this way so that I could do little rock faces. I wanted places for frogs to hide. I wanted a little artistic lean. In addition, the stratification here in Texas of the cliffs, it's like this. There's big bands of real loose sand, and then there's stone, and so the red rock itself isn't just mono, but it's a very diverse mixture, multiple layers, and so I'm trying to replicate that in there. It's not an exact thing, but I'm feeling real pleased. There's artistic decisions I'm making. Now the mortar looks like it's not like it just came right out of the bucket, but there's dye in there. It's more of an ochre than the gray it would have been. I throw it too, the mortar in real hard. to get through the screen and bind. So I don't want to have to do this again. So I'm working pretty hard to make sure that doesn't happen. I'm pretty happy with the little beaches. I'm pretty happy with where the stones ended up. This is pleasing me. I believe the faux wall will end up pretty well. A lot of work. He's really heavy. Each one of those buckets is, if all the way to the top, is 80 pounds. This was real heavy work for me to do. That's for sure. All right, I held the 3 fingers up to the sun, and I got 45 minutes, 15 minutes for each finger, right? So I got 1 bag of mortar left, and then I'll be done with that pallet. So let's try to get the top part of this done, just so I could see what that'll look like, which is more than I expected. I didn't expect to get so high on the cliff today. That made me feel good. So we'll start here to cap that off. That feels right. Always part of the process to come back in, pour mortar and mud down, and stack the stones, the red stones, on as a cap. I'm pouring it on pretty thick. I want to hold those bags into place. I also want to come up to the bridge so that water, if it comes off the bridge face, kind of runs through the stones and then down into the pond. I don't want it just sitting there. Lastly, this can be a flowing river of sorts, right? It's a wet weather river, not just a big mud puddle, not just a pond. So when that flows, I need to make sure that it doesn't wash away the bridge, undercut it. So I'm pouring that cap thick, and I'm adding extra Portland cement and just doing some other things. Here, these stones, when they're red stones, are super, super heavy. So not to throw out my back, since it's the end of the day, I actually get down in the water so that I'm not bending way over. All of these are artistic decisions that I'm doing at this point. No rhyme, no reason where I'm putting the big stones. I'm just putting them where it feels right. And where it helps me with the taper and the run out, so that it has a taper for water. Then I throw this sand in super hard, kind of mooch it in, add some lava stone in there, some pumice, and away I go. This is good stuff. Well, it's cleanup time, isn't it? Time for another day. All right, time to put everything away. So that's my final vision here for the cliffs. They'll all have that all the way around, and I'll sweep dirt into it or whatever I need to do to make it look organic, but it looks good. And that looks good over there on both sides. And then the bridge itself will be stuccoed with a final coat and whitewash, so the bridge will be bright white, and the cliffs will look like red rock, which is local and indigenous to this area. All right, but I'm very, very pleased with that bit of work. I raced the sun and I won. So anyway, this is Steve at 1,000 Year Homes. If this is your first time joining me, like, subscribe. I don't sell anything. All I do is I'm a lonely builder out here, and I like company. So like, subscribe, follow me along. Thanks much. Bye. Do a little Easter egg here. This is the next day. There's some rain coming in, so I'm pleased with that. I'm pretty pleased with that over there. Now, if it ends up that these cliffs, now I put it on thick, but if it ends up that it starts cracking or the sand wears off, I'll just put another coat on. I'll take it from 1 inch thick to 2 inches thick, whatever I need to do to make sure that doesn't crack. So I'm ready to put the tops on, and then the last thing I have to do is stucco coat that. There's my little test beds. They're holding up surprisingly well. Even the stuff I didn't think would hold up. I've been walking on this. Now it is the Styrofoam lightweight concrete. So I'll do some testing on that. And then I started over on this side too as well. All looks real good. It looks like a faux cliff. Right? A little better than you see at Rainforest Cafe. Not as good as Mother Nature would do herself. But I'm pleased with that. So there's my little Easter egg.